The Hope's horizon drifted through the cold emptiness of space, its once bright engines now nothing more than flickering embers. Inside the ship, the XLR crew worked in desperate silence, their small, fragile bodies trembling with fear. The lights inside the ship dimmed as power reserves ran low. Captain Velron, a tall XLR with pale blue skin and 6 delicate fingers on each hand, tried to remain calm. His species was known for their intelligence, not for their strength. The XLR were explorers, scientists, and diplomats. They had never been warriors. And now they faced destruction. Their attackers, the Krogan Dominion, had struck without warning. The Krogan were a brutal race, known for their conquest and cruelty. They believed in strength above all else. Weak civilizations were nothing more than prey to them. And the XLR? They had no military, no weapons strong enough to fight back. Velron had watched in horror as the Krogan ships had surrounded them. Their sleek, black warships had fired relentlessly, tearing through the Hope's Horizon's defenses as if they were paper. Now, the XLR vessel floated helplessly, its engines destroyed, its communications barely functional. Velron turned to his crew, his large silver eyes scanning their exhausted faces. "Status?" he asked, his voice calm despite the dread curling in his chest. A young officer named Rithan shook her head. "Captain, life support is failing. We have maybe 2 hours before the oxygen levels drop too low. Our distress beacon. It's weak. We don't know if anyone will hear it." The words felt like a death sentence. The XLR were deep in uncharted space, far from any allies. No one was coming for them. But Velron refused to give up. He placed a hand on Rithan's shoulder. "Boost the signal. Use all remaining power if you have to." Rithan hesitated. "But sir, if we do that, we won't have enough power left for life support." Velron took a deep breath. If they didn't send the signal, they would die here, alone in the void. If they used the last of their power, they would still die, but maybe, just maybe, someone would hear them. "Do it," he ordered. Rithan nodded and quickly worked at her console. The ship shuddered as the last of its energy was funneled into the emergency beacon. A single message was sent out into the dark. "This is Captain Velron of the XLR vessel Hope's Horizon. We have been attacked by the Krogan Dominion. We are unarmed. Our ship is crippled. Please, if anyone can hear this, we need help." Then, silence. The crew stared at their screens, but there was no response. Velron closed his eyes. He had done all he could. Now, all they could do was wait. Light years away, deep in the unknown corners of the galaxy, a fleet of warships moved through hyperspace. They were massive, their hulls made of thick metal, their weapons bristling like the fangs of some ancient beast. These were not peaceful ships. They belonged to humanity's unified navy, and they had earned a reputation as the most dangerous fleet in history. On the bridge of the largest warship, the UNS Wrath of Terra, Admiral Elias Grayson stood tall, his sharp eyes scanning the holographic map before him. He had seen many battles. He had led his fleet against threats no other species dared to face. But in all his years of war, he had never ignored a distress call. The ship's AI, a smooth mechanical voice named Sentinel, spoke. "Admiral, we are receiving a weak distress signal. Origin, unknown. It appears to be XLR in nature." Grayson frowned. The XLR? He had heard of them before, a peaceful race, never involved in war. If they were sending a distress call, they must be in serious trouble. "Play the message," he ordered. The voice of Captain Velron echoed through the bridge. "This is Captain Velron of the XLR vessel Hope's Horizon. We have been attacked by the Krogan Dominion. We are unarmed. Our ship is crippled. Please, if anyone can hear this, we need help." The bridge fell silent. The officers exchanged glances. They all knew what this meant. The Krogan Dominion was a plague upon the galaxy. They had taken countless lives, enslaved entire civilizations, and destroyed anyone who was too weak to resist. Grayson clenched his jaw. The Krogan thought no one would come. They thought the XLR were alone. They were wrong. Set coordinates, Grayson ordered. We're going to war. And with that, the most dangerous fleet in history answered the call. The UNS Wrath of Terra burst out of hyperspace, a giant shadow against the distant stars. Its hull gleamed with thick armor, battle scars etched across its surface, a silent reminder of the wars humanity had fought and won. This was no ordinary ship. It was the pride of Earth's unified navy, leading a fleet feared across the galaxy. Admiral Elias Grayson stood on the command deck, his face calm but his eyes sharp. Around him, the bridge buzzed with quiet efficiency. Every officer knew their duty. For humanity, answering a distress call was not a choice, it was a promise. No one was left behind. Status report, Grayson said, his voice steady. The ship's artificial intelligence, Sentinel, responded at once. We are approaching the coordinates of the distress signal. Scanners show a Solari vessel damaged and drifting. 3 Krogan warships remain nearby, maintaining an attack formation. Grayson's jaw tightened. He had read the reports on the Krogan Dominion pirates masquerading as an empire. They preyed on the weak, destroying anything that could not fight back. But today, they had picked the wrong target. Prepare for combat, Grayson ordered. Bring all weapons online. I want full shields and fighter squadrons on standby. Across the fleet, human warships moved into formation. The UNS Ironclad, a heavy cruiser, slid into position alongside the Wrath of Terra. Behind them, 2 destroyers fast and deadly activated their railguns. This was not a rescue mission. It was a message. The message was simple. Humanity does not tolerate bullies. On the auxiliary vessel Hope's Horizon, Captain Velron felt the cold creep of despair. Life support was running out. The Krogan ships circled like hungry predators, and no one had answered their distress signal. We are out of time, Rethan whispered. Her voice trembled. No one is coming, Captain. Velron wanted to speak, to offer comfort, but he had no words left. He had done everything he could. This was the end. But then the ship trembled. Not from an attack, but from something else. The distant stars seemed to ripple as bright flashes tore through the darkness. Captain! Rethan gasped. New contacts, large vessels. Unknown origin. Velran's heart pounded. Was it another enemy? Had the Krogan called for reinforcements? Then the main display lit up. A colossal warship unlike anything the Exilari had ever seen materialized out of the void. Its black hull shone with the fire of distant suns, its massive cannons humming with energy. A name blazed across its side, UNS Wrath of Terra. Velran's breath caught. Humanity. They answered us, he whispered. Aboard the Wrath of Terra, Admiral Grayson watched the battlefield unfold. The Exilari ship floated helplessly. The Krogan warships, sensing danger, began to reposition themselves. They think they can still win, Grayson muttered. He turned to his weapons officer. Let's teach them otherwise. Targets locked, sir. Fire. The blast struck the nearest Krogan warship, shattering its shields and ripping through its hull. Explosions blossomed across the enemy vessel before it broke apart in a burst of fire and debris. The second Krogan ship turned sharply, trying to escape, but humanity did not give second chances. The ironclad unleashed a storm of railgun rounds, tearing through the fleeing ship's engines and sending it spinning into the void. Only one Krogan warship remained. It fired desperately, its plasma bolts splashing harmlessly against the human fleet's shields. Foolish, Grayson murmured. End it. A squadron of human strike fighters, sleek and fast, launched from the Wrath of Terra. They swarmed the final Krogan vessel, missiles and laser fire cutting through its defenses. Within seconds, the last enemy ship exploded, leaving nothing but silence behind. Enemy threat eliminated. Sentinel confirmed. Grayson allowed himself a small nod. Open a channel to the Exilari ship. A moment later, Captain Velran's face appeared on the holoscreen. His silver eyes were wide with shock and relief. This is Admiral Elias Grayson of the Unified Navy, he said. We received your distress signal. You are safe now. Velron's voice trembled with emotion. You saved us. Why? Your people owe us nothing. Grayson's expression softened. We don't leave innocent lives behind. Not today. Not ever. Across the galaxy, news of the battle spread quickly. The Krogan Dominion had never faced a force like humanity's before. In one swift strike, 3 of their warships had been destroyed without a single human loss. The message was clear. Humanity was no longer staying quiet. For the first time in centuries, predators like the Krogan began to fear the dark. Because somewhere out there, Earth's most dangerous fleet was waiting, and they answered every call for help. The UNS Wrath of Terra held position near the damaged auxiliary ship, its massive hull glowing softly against the endless black of space. Around it, the rest of the human fleet moved like predators circling their prey, silent, swift, and deadly. On the bridge, Admiral Elias Grayson stood with his hands clasped behind his back. His sharp gaze never left the tactical display, where the wreckage of 3 destroyed Krogan ships drifted as a silent warning. But it wasn't over. Admiral, the ship's AI sentinel, spoke. We are detecting more incoming vessels. 5 Krogan warships approaching fast. Grayson's jaw tightened. He wasn't surprised. The Krogan Dominion never accepted defeat quietly. Their pride would not allow it. But humanity had no intention of backing down. Battle stations, he ordered. Arm all weapons. No one touches that Solari ship while we're here. Across the Wrath of Terra, alarms hummed to life. Crew members moved swiftly, preparing for battle with the calm efficiency only years of training could provide. Humanity's fleet had faced threats before pirates, rogue AI, even alien warlords, but the Krogan were different. They didn't just attack for resources. They attacked to dominate. Grayson had no intention of letting that happen. On the Hope's horizon, the human fleet had saved them once, but could even these powerful warships survive an attack from 5 Krogan battlecruisers? Captain, Rithan said quietly, should we send another distress signal? Velron shook his head. No need, he murmured, eyes fixed on the human fleet. I don't think they're gonna run. And he was right. The Krogan warships burst out of hyperspace, their jagged black hulls gleaming with the light of distant stars. They moved in tight formation, energy weapons glowing red-hot as they prepared to strike. Grayson's lips curled into a faint smile. They were predictable. That would be their downfall. Lock targets, he commanded. Engage on my mark. The bridge fell silent except for the hum of advanced weaponry charging. The Krogan fleet closed the distance quickly, too quickly. They believed their sheer numbers would overwhelm the humans. They were wrong. Mark. The Wrath of Terra fired first. Its primary railgun unleashed a thunderous blast, sending a hyper-accelerated slug through the void. The shot slammed into the lead Krogan vessel, punching through its shields and ripping a hole straight through its core. The ship exploded in a brilliant flash of fire and metal. Almost instantly, the ironclad and the 2 destroyers joined the attack. Barrages of kinetic rounds and plasma beams filled the space between the fleets. The second Krogan ship shuddered under the assault, its hull cracking open before a final missile strike reduced it to debris. 3 Krogan ships remained, but they were already on the defensive. They're breaking formation, Sentinel reported. Grayson's smile didn't fade. Good. Keep the pressure on them. The Krogan tried to fight back. Their plasma cannons flared, sending waves of burning energy toward the human ships. But humanity's shield technology was far more advanced. The plasma bursts splashed harmlessly against their defenses, leaving the human fleet untouched. Bring in the fighters, Grayson ordered. A squadron of sleek human strike fighters shot out from the Wrath of Terra's hangar bay, weaving through the battlefield with precision. They moved too fast for the Krogan's sluggish turrets to track. Within moments, the fighters struck targeting engines, weapon ports, and exposed systems. The third Krogan warship tried to retreat, but the ironclad's railguns tore through its engines, leaving it dead in space. A second volley finished it off, the explosions scattering debris across the battlefield. 3 down, Sentinel reported. 2 remaining. Grayson turned his gaze to the last 2 Krogan ships. One was damaged, its shields flickering weakly. The other still had full power, but Grayson knew that wouldn't matter. "Send them a message," he said. A communication signal cut across the void, directly to the Krogan commanders. Grayson's voice was cold and calm. "This is Admiral Elias Grayson of Earth's Unified Navy. You have two options: surrender or be destroyed." For a tense moment, there was no reply. The Krogan were proud. They had never bowed to anyone. But now, as they faced total annihilation, they had no choice. The damaged Krogan vessel powered down its weapons and sent a signal of surrender. The final ship hesitated, then followed. "They yield. Sentinel confirmed." Grayson exhaled softly. Wise choice. On the Hope's horizon, Captain Velran watched in disbelief. 5 Krogan warships destroyed or captured in a matter of minutes. No one had ever done that. "They saved us," Rithan whispered. Velran nodded slowly. Humanity wasn't just another species. They were something else, something the galaxy had never seen before. And he realized one truth that would soon spread across the stars. When humanity answers a call for help, they bring the most dangerous fleet in history. The destruction of the Krogan fleet sent shockwaves across the galaxy. For centuries, the Krogan Dominion had ruled through fear. Entire species had surrendered to them without a fight. No one dared to oppose them until now. Humanity's swift and brutal response to the XLR distress call changed everything. For the first time, the galaxy realized a new power had emerged. And this power did not play by the old rules. In the grand chambers of the Galactic Council, representatives from dozens of species gathered in urgent session. The Council's golden halls, usually filled with calm debate, now buzzed with tension and fear. At the center of the room, High Chancellor Viral of the Sarathi race stood tall, his insect-like eyes scanning the gathered leaders. "We have all seen the reports," he said, his voice cold. 3 Krogan warships destroyed. 2 more captured. And the humans. They lost nothing. A murmur spread through the chamber. For years, the Council had warned against provoking the Krogan Dominion. Now, humanity had not only provoked them, they had humiliated them. Ambassador Kelvas of the Trellon species, a cautious and soft-spoken diplomat, raised a trembling hand. This cannot be ignored. If humanity is willing to strike the Krogan so easily, what happens when they turn their gaze elsewhere? "They saved the Acceleri," argued Councillor Dren of the Myari, his purple skin glinting under the chamber's lights. "They did not seek conquest. They answered a plea for help." "Help?" Kelva scoffed. "They answered with an entire war fleet. No species responds like that. What if they see us as their next target?" A heavy silence fell over the room. Fear hung thick in the air. At last, Chancellor Viral spoke again. "We cannot ignore this," he said. "Send a summons to the human ambassador. We must know their intentions before it is too late." Meanwhile, on the Krogan homeworld of Varakthal, the atmosphere was far from quiet. In the dark halls of the War Council, Supreme Warlord Kragath stood before his most trusted generals. His crimson armor gleamed beneath the torchlight, but his eyes burned with rage. "Humans!" He spat the word like poison. "They dared to strike us. They destroyed our ships. And now, the galaxy thinks we are weak." The generals growled in anger. For centuries, the Krogan had ruled through fear. No one had ever challenged their dominance until now. "Send word to every fleet," Kragath ordered. "I want intelligence on their technology, their fleet movements, their homeworld. If humanity wants war, we will give it to them." His claws scraped against the stone table. They believe they are strong, but they have no idea who they are dealing with. On the Exalari homeworld of Valora, the mood was very different. Captain Velran stood before the Council of Elders, recounting the battle in detail. His voice was calm, but his heart still pounded at the memory of humanity's power. "They arrived without hesitation," he said. "And in minutes, they turned the tide. The Krogan were helpless before them." Elder Ceres, the leader of the council, tilted her head thoughtfully. "You believe they saved us out of kindness?" Velran nodded. "Yes. They had nothing to gain. They answered our call because it was the right thing to do. Another elder, more skeptical, folded his thin arms. But can we trust them? Power like that is dangerous. What happens if they decide we are no longer worth saving? Velrin paused before answering. I do not know their future plans, but I know this: when we called for help, they came. And without them, we would not be here today. Elder Ceres nodded slowly. Then we owe them a debt. Perhaps it is time to invite humanity into the council. Gasps filled the room. No outsider had ever been offered a seat on the Galactic Council. But after this battle, it was clear humanity was no longer an outsider. Far from the politics and debates, aboard the UNS Wrath of Terra, Admiral Elias Grayson stood in his private office, reading the latest reports. The galaxy was reacting exactly as he expected: fear, panic, and confusion. A soft chime echoed through the room. The ship's AI Sentinel spoke. Admiral, incoming message from Earth Command. High Admiral Vasquez requests your presence. Grayson straightened. Patch it through. The holographic image of High Admiral Vasquez appeared: an older woman with sharp eyes and a calm expression. Grayson, she said, you've made quite the impression. They needed help, Grayson replied simply. Vasquez gave a small smile. And you gave it to them with a message the whole galaxy heard. The Council is requesting a diplomatic meeting. They want to know our intentions. Grayson's face grew serious. And if the Krogan retaliate? Vasquez's smile faded. Then we remind them who we are. Grayson nodded, his voice steady. Understood. We'll be ready. As the transmission ended, Grayson gazed out the viewport. The stars stretched endlessly before him. Somewhere out there, enemies plotted and politicians worried, but none of that mattered. Because as long as humanity stood watch, no cry for help would ever go unanswered. The cold void of space shimmered as the Krogan revenge fleet emerged from hyperspace. 10 massive warships, bristling with heavy cannons and plasma lances, formed a deadly wall of destruction. At their center, the flagship Bloodfang loomed twice the size of any human vessel, its hull painted with the scars of 100 conquests. On the bridge, Supreme Warlord Kragath stood tall. His crimson armor glowed faintly under the dim lights, and his jagged teeth bared in a cruel smile. The humiliation humanity had inflicted on the Krogan would not go unpunished. Today, he would remind the galaxy why the Krogan Dominion was feared. Target the human fleet, Kragath growled. Crush them. Leave no survivors. The Krogan had carefully planned their revenge. A fake distress signal, crafted to mimic a Axolari cry for help, had been sent to lure the humans into a remote system on the edge of the galaxy. Here, far from reinforcements, Kragath would spring his trap and destroy humanity's most dangerous fleet. Aboard the UNS Wrath of Terra, Admiral Elias Grayson studied the glowing map hovering above the command table. The distress signal came from Vector 9, a lifeless system known only for asteroid fields and ancient wrecks. Something about it felt wrong. Anything on long-range scans? Grayson asked. The ship's AI Sentinel responded with calm precision. Negative, Admiral. No ships detected. However, gravitational readings suggest recent hyperspace activity. Grayson's instincts, honed by years of battle, flared with warning. The Krogan weren't the type to accept defeat quietly. This signal, it was too perfect, too convenient. They're waiting for us, he murmured. Commander Ava Reynolds, his second-in-command, raised an eyebrow. It's a trap? Grayson nodded slowly. Most likely, but they don't know one thing. A faint smile touched his lips. We expected them to strike back. As the Wrath of Terra and its escort ships arrived in Vector 9, everything seemed quiet. Too quiet. Asteroids drifted silently in the void, and the weak signal pulsed faintly from a broken satellite. Scan the area again, Grayson ordered. A tense moment passed before Sentinel spoke. Multiple contacts. 10 Krogan warships hiding behind the asteroid belt. They are powering weapons. They took the bait, Grayson said, his voice cold. Raise shields. Arm all weapons. The trap had been set, but not for humanity. Grayson had suspected a retaliation attempt and deployed stealth probes days earlier. The moment the Krogan began gathering their fleet, Earth's unified navy knew exactly where they would strike. The Krogan thought they were the hunters. They were wrong. "Phase 2, Admiral?" Reynolds asked. Grayson's eyes hardened. "Execute it." On the Bloodfang, Warlord Kragath's smile faded when his tactical officer barked an alert. "Multiple human ships emerging from hyperspace behind us. What?" Kragath roared. From the darkness, a second human fleet appeared. 3 heavy battlecruisers, 6 destroyers, and 2 carriers, Earth's first response division, arrived with terrifying speed. The lead ship, UNS Valiant, unleashed a barrage of kinetic rounds, shredding the rear Krogan warship before it could react. The trap had flipped. Now, the Krogan were surrounded. "Destroy them!" Kragath bellowed, slamming his fist onto the command panel. The Krogan ships fired, plasma lances slicing through the void. But the human fleet was faster and smarter. Advanced shield systems absorbed the brunt of the attack, while counterfire struck with brutal accuracy. The Wrath of Terra moved with deadly grace, its railguns and missile batteries raining fire upon the Krogan. One by one, the enemy ships began to fall. Explosions blossomed like angry stars. On the bridge, Grayson stood firm. "Focus on the flagship," he ordered. The Bloodfang was the heart of the Krogan fleet. If it fell, the battle would be over. "Target locked," Sentinel confirmed. "Fire!" The Wrath of Terra's main cannon roared to life. A solid tungsten round, traveling at near light speed, slammed into the Bloodfang's shields. The first shot weakened them. The second broke through. The third tore through the Krogan ship's engines, sending it spinning helplessly. Warlord Kragath staggered as the ship trembled beneath him. Fires erupted across the bridge. Screens flickered. His empire's pride shattered. "Retreat!" he snarled. But it was too late. The UNS Valiant fired its plasma lances in a coordinated strike. The beams cut through the Bloodfang's hull, detonating its power core. The Krogan flagship erupted in a brilliant explosion. The silence that followed was absolute. "Enemy fleet destroyed," Sentinel reported. Grayson allowed himself a small breath. The trap had worked perfectly. Humanity had not only survived the Krogan's revenge, they had crushed it. "Send a message to Earth Command," Grayson said quietly. "The Krogan threat is neutralized." Commander Reynolds shook her head in amazement. "They thought they could trap us." Grayson's voice was calm and unyielding. "They forgot who they were dealing with." As the human fleet moved to recover survivors and gather data, one truth became clear to every species watching: no one traps humanity.